And we are going live. We are there. So let me just check that we have we are going live. Hello and welcome in the self-help bookshelf. Today I'm doing a quick sort of 10-15 minute interview with Rory Lemon about his upcoming book. Now, for anybody who's new to the group, knows Rory or doesn't know Rory, maybe they know me or Emma from the group or none of us, what I will be doing is every time a new author is about to write a book or has started writing their book, is we're going to start them off gently with a 10 to 15 minute interview about the concept of what they are bringing forward. So at this point, it may or may not include titles or other details, but it's getting that information out and getting these authors connected with you early on. So welcome today, Rory, and thank you for coming and joining me for your first interview. Although we did the early welcome in the book group itself, this is your first author interview. So how are you doing today?
All right, thank you, Kay. Is this on gallery view or speaker, by the way? Because if it's on
Good point.
gallery, it'll be nicer.
We are on gallery. Yes, side by
Hey!
side, yeah.
Awesome. I'm doing well, thank you. Yes, 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 yes.
Good, good, good. And so, yes, so you're writing a book, which is amazing. And although I wanted to get you on here a couple of weeks ago doing this interview, you're ploughing ahead and nearly done. But I still want to get this interview out about what you are in the process of doing. So would you like to give us a quick introduction to yourself, who you are for people who don't know you, and a little introduction to the concept of your exciting book, please?
Okay, thank you. So I'm Rory Lemon. I go by Rory Lemon Aid, AID to help. And the reason why that is because I've been fascinated with helping and health and healing for I don't know how long, in some way, shape, or form. It's pretty much when I went through a period of psychosis in my early 20s, through not knowing how to feel like I knew how to communicate my ideas or explain my emotions, or ask for help in certain ways when things just get stuck up, bit worse and worse, anxiety loops, paranoia, um, and it didn't realize I was dyslexic as well at that point until I was 33. So, in a nutshell, it was the frustration of have, kind of choosing to believe that I was a certain way from school onwards because of not really having support or understanding about whether or not I could change myself in terms of communication and or understanding my neurodiversity. It wasn't understood or recognized at that point. And so I took around that idea of introversion and being more like an artist, kind of creative, practical kind of person rather than an academic. And and so I was frustrated with the system, um, and just having all these downloaded amazing ideas, intuitions on my own. I would just be playing with amazing ideas and creations, and seeing patterns that would potentially help people to not be so fixed in their environments or the way society talks, um, or has language to support detrimental, segregative kind of talk and judgmental talk. I was always that kind of person that was like, I didn't like this stereotypes, and things like that too. And so, uh, and automated kind of judgments really around things. And so, um, in a nutshell, going through that mental health crisis, I did reach out to my mother at that point. It's the only person I felt like I knew to say anything to at that moment, and had reflexology for 14 weeks. I mean, 14 weeks of having reflexology once a week, I was phenomenally better. I was literally in kind of positive shock at how good I felt, and that everything had calmed down. including delusional and illusional kind of thoughts, feelings, and uh, audio hallucinations at points. And I was like, wow, that's powerful. And what I was just thinking like, well, if that's what one modality of health, holistic health processes can do, I wonder what else is possible to change with everything else. And that was my mantra going on in the background. I only realized that recently, that was how to actually describe that. That was what was going on ever since my early 20s. What else is possible to change? Even though I was having a lot of PTSD style flashbacks, or my brain not wanting that to happen ever again. So I was living in fear of it happening again, as it were. So I felt like I was back to who I believed I thought I was at that time, but I was also really struggling. So still to so I carried on helping people, burnt out physically, got osteopathy after 8 years, and got into osteopathy, covering from physical RSIs, and music was regulating my nervous system all that time as well, from dancing and listening and playing as well from a very early age. From so yeah, fanatical about, and that's one thing I've noticed about being potentially undiagnosed autistic as well, around getting fanatical about stuff, fanatically interested and wanting to know more and more and more, get practical knowledge about it. So I've done guitar, I've done DJing, I've done music production, I've done my little creative writings in the background all these times, and wordsmithing. There was just all like for joy and stuff, until this point when I realized it can all be useful to help others understand their own processes. And that's where we're coming back round to this idea of through osteopathy, ideas around health, going into coaching, because it really helped me to step up and understand how to manage my mind, how to regulate my emotions through somatic work, and then help others as well. So I've just taken it to a further level, because it's all about, for me, the health is truly, if it's truly holistic, then we're looking at managing the mind and the emotions and the body, and all of that. So I've got movement modalities, I've got my mental fitness work, and somatic embodiment work, and what I call neurocreative leadership, which comes from the heart, and visionary creative work. And I love to help heart-centered, neurodiverse creatives launch their projects, and potentially start up businesses if they want to, or just get into a self expressive pattern of creativity that they've forgotten about, even if it's just for themselves, or if it's to express that out into the world. So that's my story in a nutshell.
Oh, fantastic, Rory. Thank you. And that is really, really inspiring, because there has been so many elements that you've had to deal with. And it's one thing when you know you have these challenges, like the Asperger's, or sorry, the autistic spectrum disorder, the dyslexia. And it's one thing to grow up dealing with those challenges, but unaware of why. And then there's the other part of it is when you realize why, managing all the emotions around that recognition and finding strategies going forwards. And I think it's really, really powerful that you've not only done that for yourself, but actually using that to support other people, including me. As I also understand the point of late diagnosis, and I'm still waiting for a diagnosis for ADHD. Other things I have no idea at the moment, but it was only 3 years ago I recognized that in myself after raising a son on the autistic spectrum. So I am aware of the challenges before, during, and after all that diagnosis process, and then what you do with that. But to take that and repurpose that is absolutely, like you say, phenomenal and well done. So the book that you're doing, though, is not actually a self-help book specifically around all of that, though, is it? you're doing something more on the creative side. If you could tell us a little bit more specifically sort of about the book itself would be great.
Yeah, because it's when what what I envisioned was to get something out that's uniquely me at this point. I've got lots of other ideas around books that will be much more, you know, more informational books and stories and lots of other books in mind. Coming back to this one, it's called NeuroCreative Recollections, and it's all my collections of inspirational musings, prose, and quotes that I've
Mm.
uh, written over the in pretty much leading up till the end of 2021. At this point, and it kind of reflects on my thought processes up until until those times around what coaching was really inspiring me with as I was studying that. And I see the sort of the coaching part is the coaching revolution is this idea of that we're not meant to help do things all on our own, and it's a collaborative process of sharing knowledge and support that is I feel much needed and brings together life experiences and skills to move forwards out of this I would say the dark ages of human psyche that's been going on for so long around competition and segregation um and yeah. So my point being is it's about inspiration, and it's meant to help in that way, to inspire through my wordings and the way I saw the world at that time. And it's also it's called NeuroCreative Recollections, the the pros and cons of intentional brain bending brilliance.
Fantastic. And that's Prose, as in poetry, isn't it?
Yes.
Rather than pro and con, the pros and con. Yeah, that's really clever title. I like that one.
Thank you. It's
We love it.
volume one too, as well.
Yeah, volume one and no, two's coming next. Yeah, volume one. But no, it looks amazing, and it is a very creative layout. So this is not your average textbook. Rory has this incredibly creative layout where all the text is like colors, and there's photographs and artwork. I think you're going possibly just for photographs now, though, aren't you?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So it's like all short poetry. So it's not like one of my books where it's like 10 minutes to read through pages and pages of one poem. Rory's is lots of little short poems, so you only have to read one a page. A few where there's one on two pages, aren't there? But
Mm.
it's really, really creative, and like Rory said, it's definitely Rory's style. And it speaks so much of you. I'm really pleased with what you've put together. It looks incredible, and I'm excited to see it coming out. So when you decided to do poetry, and you're saying about the wordsmithing, what is it that inspires you about that aspect of the book? About creating all these little words as opposed to the music or painting? What is it about the words that captivates you?
I think because of my type of dyslexia, being un unobvious um challenges with the language processing, uh that I would have time to reflect on so much, and I'd be in that play state. I think the music definitely helped with that, to stay in a sort of flow states quite a lot, to regulate my nervous system. But what it was allowing me to do was play so much with words and not care in some ways about being fixed around how things should look or read. And actually, if you say the word chillax came about, it's that was one of the words that now when someone says chillax, it's I didn't really like it at the time, but actually it is an example of whereby a new word gets made from two words, and that is what is pure creativity. Is creativity for me is what information is already known and just sticking them together or seeing what flows or throwing stuff together. So I was consistently playing around with puns and words uh and and yeah, I think that's just where it's come from really. And just thought it would be useful to keep writing it out and keep and collecting it up rather than I didn't really think of being an author much at all.
Yeah.
And actually, it was I was toying around with it at some point in the last year or so after reviewing it all, and yeah, thanks to you coming along, Kay, it's been just like, oh no, we get to do it now. Okay.
Well,
Ah.
that actually leads perfectly to my next question. I've got two last questions for you, fairly quick ones. Is what was the biggest challenge between you putting all of your prose and creative writing together to where you are now? What was the biggest challenge in the way of becoming an author or in actually creating your book, however it sits with you?
Um, the first thing that comes up for me is like with probably a lot of artists and creates neurodiverse creatives where we've gone through our own or are going through our own challenges of not feeling like we're um accepted for who we how we want to be or how we react to things or how we see the world or how we think, uh, and so that automated response comes up as wanting to get things perfect, and so the perfectionism around, analyzing, going, will it be ready, can I get it ready in time, uh basically all the self-doubt of comparisons, and that's the stuff that I help other people with. So it doesn't go away, but I get to notice it, and I get to use my own techniques and ways that I've managed it to notice it and step through it and notice when it's an actual made up barrier compared to something that is truly worthwhile sitting and reflecting further on. And so that's the first thing that comes up, that sort of sense of emotional barricade that can come up around whether or not it's ready or what to put into it. Luckily enough, I'd thought about it a lot before. I think the the second one is writing in general and preparing myself to actually get into a flow of writing is something that I like it, kind of coming back to the story around where I was not used to writing or reading so well that that it it felt like it'd be slow or sluggish to or would come out in the right order or all those kind of things as well.
Finding that flow and the motivation, you mean, trying to find that.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. And then we obviously had a chat about your book, and that bit changed,
Yeah.
and the flow and the motivation just poured out.
Yeah. Because it's also it's like just, stick to this step by step, do this first, and then that's kind of, it's a kind of combination between your steps and what I love to help people with, and is to clear the runway so that there's only one, remove all the things out the way, so there's just one little block. It's like, okay, just do that, boom, and then it can just happen really quickly and easily with various things. Yeah.
I think that's the challenge when you're used to doing that for one thing, but then you move into a different challenge and it's a different runway you're not familiar with. And it's having somebody with the knowledge to clear that different runway. And I'm the same the other way around, because the book, yes, come and see me. I can help you clear the runway for the book. But setting up a business was like, Rory, I need help. Because that's the wrong runway for me. So, or a different one. So
No, I wouldn't have
I get
actually
it.
ever imagined I'd be a business mentor at any point.
No, and the same here. I never thought I'd write a book, let alone be a book mentor. But it happens as we learn. And
Yeah.
like you've learned those steps for the creativity and the neurodiversity, and you've learned those steps for overcoming those personal challenges and scatter. Then that's the similar way I've learned that for the emotional awareness, which is one side of my business. But then because of that, I wrote the book, and then because of writing the book, I'm now doing that with the steps I've learned. Well, I've now actually published 8 books, well, 3 books, 2 journals, and 3 notebooks. But with those, I've learned those steps repetitively to the point that now I saw gaps in the market that were quite obvious gaps when it come to putting self-help books together and self-publishing for the well-being sector. And when we really niched that down, and that's a conversation we've talked about a lot this week, getting to the point. And for me, that was getting down to that point, is there were things I needed that weren't there. So we're here creating them to clear the runway for more authors to come. So if anybody else wants to come and follow this process, it's actually proving to be even more powerful than I'd expected already, both in the self-help writers circle and here in the self-help bookshelf. And for what it's offering both the authors and the members, it's looking really, really positive. So we do appreciate all of you being here, and today as well. Thank you. So one last question, Rory. What has been the most exciting part so far? And I should double that one up. And what are you looking forward to next?
Of writing the book or
For the
yeah.
book again, yeah.
The exciting part is seeing it all come together really quickly. And to be honest with you, I really do like moving things around and making things different shapes.
I get it. I get it.
But yeah, making
Yeah.
it look a certain way and picking the photos, going back over old photos, things that I saw value in some way, shape, or form, and just kind of pulling it out from that, and just actually I'd forgotten about my eye for things and how I like things, and it's really that's exciting because it's something that I don't usually do that much.
Sounds
Um,
really therapeutic.
yeah, yeah.
I think
Um,
that's one of the
what you,
nice things with the book, just letting all that creativity out through the book, or all of the knowledge. The other one is if you've been like, a lot of knowledge coming in, sometimes it's really quite cathartic to then get it all out the other side. And the same when it is like yours, more of a creative book, getting that creativity out as well as in is really helpful at times. So yeah,
yeah, yeah, and and seeing that I can get to have that light-hearted humor that I like as well coming through as well. And
yeah.
what did you say as well? What am I looking forward to?
Yes, what are you looking forward to next? What's the
I'm
next?
I'm I'm looking forward to this being the start of a sense of neurocreativity out in the world. So, because it's a term that I put together in order to um, share an idea as a concept that people can take as much as or as less as they want to take away with them. That their neurodiversity is a sense of potentially that they feel like they feel unique or different, and we're ultimately also looking at neuro inclusion
Yeah.
a lot of the time to address everyone's needs and to create a sustainable world. So when I put sustainability, neurodiversity, um and inclusion all together, to me that is what creativity is, what brings everything together. And when we think a thought and we stay on that thought, and then we start to take action on that thought, and then we embody that thought, it becomes a mental muscle in the brain, as it's called, which is
Mm.
a strength. It becomes stronger. So if we have negative thoughts about ourselves or others, that will stay there. It will reinforce and potentially keep that reality going. and or potentially create more dysfunction in our health or wealth or whatever you want to call it. So it's not only just a statement of, hey, creativity is great, but it's also how bringing it back to a state of, it's important to focus on in order for what I would say the more intelligental, or not just introverted, but in those that have not got a voice because they're caught up in their dysfunctional patterns, or their beliefs that they have, just like I believed I was that person that couldn't communicate and now I can, or communicate the way I want to and let go of anything I don't want to think about or feel, and how that translates to neurocreative leadership, which is a state of not standing up on stage just because I've chosen to, because that was my weakness. And actually, if I do that, then I'm actually able to be listened to, and I'm able to share those ideas that for 35 years, 40 years, I wasn't able to share my story. And um, uh, so coming back to the state of what is leadership, and it's, for me, heart-led leadership is to inspire the world on a bigger vision than ourselves, and that actually can bring in neuro inclusion and diversity and creativity to inspire the world. So that's what I'm looking forward to, is that if we can inspire other neurodiverse creatives to release projects to inspire the world, if we all spent more time appreciating those as businesses and not Coca-Cola, for instance, or or just businesses that are there that are really catch people's eye, that are just catching their and feeding their fears and their all that kind of stuff, and actually change the focus and the economy around actually sharing out the wealth to those that
Yeah.
can have their own voice and their own style of creativity, and if we valued that just as much as anything else,
Yeah.
value it with
Yes.
not just, hey, they look great, I wish I could do that. No, I'm talking about literally remembering that we're all creative. So therefore, if we can share that message, that's what I'm looking forward to next with this book.
Hey, that's a big vision, Rory, and it's amazing, and I can really see where this is going. And I love that you've taken all the different aspects of who you have been throughout the years and brought them all together now to create this with a vision of what you want going forward as well. So it's like this little funnel moment between the past and the future, like the time glass, the hourglass. And it's amazing. And I get it because it's very similar to myself. I like the writing, I like poetry, I like photography. And so two of my books are based on that as well. Like my mindfulness with flowers, there's lots of flower photos. The Dark and the Dark has got the poetry in it as well, with the love of writing, and then now the book mentoring. So it's bringing all of that creativity together. I couldn't quite put everything I do in that book, but that is the thing with the neurodivergent aspects of society. We all tend to have a lot of multi-creative outlets rather than somebody who has a singular hobby that they focus on sort of avidly. We tend to do a lot of different things. So like Rory, I have done the music in the past. I do painting, I do sewing, I do all kinds of things, but it's finding the ones that I valued the most and finding a way to bring them together into one place. And I put it is like, for me, all of, and then there's all of the other experiences we've had through work and life and family, and all of that together doesn't have to all be separate. It's all you as a whole, and it's how we can use that to inspire others is powerful. And for me, I talk about it as though if all roads lead to Rome, like every road that I've walked through in life this far, it's like doing this project for me with the writing and the business and the book group all together. It's like all those roads lead to Rome. This is my Rome. I've now got to build on it. but it's like I finally arrived there. And that's the power of being able to do these books and bring all aspects of you together. So if you're somebody who's ready to build your own and wants to write a book as well, thank you, Rory, for sharing all of your experience so far today. And I'm really looking forward to getting your next interviews. We were going to be a quick 10 minutes. So thank you if anybody's still watching, and thank you to Emma for watching in. I did see you over there. So yeah, Emma's watching today. But yeah, really, really looking forward to getting this off the ground as a much bigger project for the bookshelf group, but also to see your book in print. And it is going to be this year. It is going to be out before Christmas. We're making sure of it. So at some point we will be having a look at whether or not people can pre-purchase, which is a topic we've got to talk about next week in the book group meeting. But thank you ever so much for everybody to watching in live today, and fantastic work, Rory. Keep it going. And I see we're going to be doing these interviews repeatedly about the next book and the next book and the next book.
Brilliant. Thanks, Kay, for what you're doing. And yeah, I love that idea of going to Rome and making sure that we go to the Bath Spa on the way.
Oh, that's a good idea.
For our own good quality life of health. Okay.
Right. Well, hugs and healing to everybody from me. And thank you so much to you all for watching in, and we'll see you again for some more updates on our author's progress very soon. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.